Coming up on the next edition of Power and Politics, the clock is ticking as former President Donald Trump stares down a $500 million bond needed to continue fighting his civil fraud case. Meanwhile, Governor Ron DeSantis signs 3 more immigration bills and frets over Haitian immigrants entering the state illegally. Hello and welcome to another edition of Power and Politics. I'm your host, Frank Cipolla. Power and Politics is a weekly unbiased look at the top stories affecting the state with a special emphasis on the psychology behind the decisions and issues that affect our lives. We want to take a moment to say hello to our many viewers watching as they do every week on stations throughout the state, including stations in Tampa, Miami, Panama City, Gainesville, Jacksonville, and elsewhere. I am joined today, as I am every week, by my co-host, Emmy Award-winning clinical and political psychologist, Dr. Bart Russell.
Great to be here again, Frank.
Doctor, welcome. All right. Hey, we begin the show with former President Donald Trump looking for the money to cover a nearly $500 million bond so he can appeal his New York City civil fraud case. Trump has called the amount unconstitutional and un-American, but nonetheless, he will have to get a lender to underwrite the bond in the hope of overturning that ruling. All right, let me start off with that right off the bat. He said in a previous deposition that he had access to $400 million in cash. Even if he pays E. Jean Carroll $83 million, that's still a significant amount of money. Isn't that enough to get a lender to say, hey, you got $300 million in cash and all your real estate holdings? Isn't that enough to get a bond on that?
There's a lot of issues here, Frank. And you know, we always talk about optics, you know? Well, and the psychology of the optics and how it looks. Well, this goes way beyond the optics, because what's going to happen here is we're going to be talking about, and a lot of people are going to be thinking about Donald J. Trump's wealth. Does he really have what he has said all these years? If he can't come up with the bond or put up his real estate for that amount of money, then how is he worth billions upon billions of dollars? People are, for the first time, perhaps going to be thinking about the fact that the man is not who he says he is. And that's a problem for Donald Trump to deal with.
Will that matter to his followers, his voters, and so on?
It may not matter to his base. But remember, there are many independent voters, and there are people in the Republican Party that are having issues with Donald Trump. So for him, this is a problem. It's optics, and then all of that beyond the optics in terms of what people are really thinking about. Because before, they may be just looking at Donald Trump and they may like him in terms of what he stands for. But now it may be going a little bit deeper, and that's probably why he's anxious about this.
He has 2 options. As I understand it, we're not attorneys. He can either sell some of his assets or put that up for collateral, or declare bankruptcy. You think he's going to sell his assets. I think, and we're just speculating here, he'll declare bankruptcy and say, hey, you know what? I don't have that, and then pitch it or spin it in such a way to say they're out to get me.
No, I don't think the bank.
So we have a disagreement.
We have a disagreement. I don't think bankruptcy is on the table at all, because perception will be very bad.
Doesn't matter, though.
I think to him it matters. He doesn't want to go into bankruptcy while he's running for the presidency. It just doesn't. It doesn't work in my mind in terms of how this is going. What might be better, though, is the latter part of what you just said, is that if he lets New York try to take control of his real estate empire, he can then say, look at what they're doing to me. And that might be a better play for him in terms of the optics and how this breaks out.
Okay, we also found out this week that President Biden, at least privately, is fretting over how the campaign is going. There's a little disagreement within the campaign, the messaging. We've talked about this before. How do you see that story?
I think Biden has a lot of reasons to be frustrated and concerned. And some of it, I think, is his own fault, actually. I think his behavior really is such that he has not promoted well enough, again, messaging, okay, on what he has done, what he has accomplished, and what he stands for. I mean, we know he's pro-choice, okay? We know that he's for mental health in America. We know he wants gun control that's reasonable. But has he really enunciated this in the best possible manner? Has he presented it well enough? So far, I think it's a question mark. And I think he's got to do a better job of standing up for what he's for. And I think that's yet to come.
All right, let's talk about the primary that happened in Florida on Tuesday. There were no really Democratic primary. They didn't have a physical primary. They just awarded President Biden all the delegates. But Donald Trump ran against Nikki Haley, still on the ballot, even though she's out of the race. He ran against Ron DeSantis, still on the ballot, even though he's out of the race. Donald Trump, the former president, got 81% of the vote, and Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis shared 17% of it. Should he be concerned?
He should be concerned because where's the 20%? I mean, they're Republicans not voting for him. And he had about 94% a few years ago. So there's a question mark in terms of who he actually has in his pocket. You know, there are too many Republicans that are backing away from him right now. That's an issue for him.
It will be interesting to see when the general election comes along. Okay, time now for one of our regular segments, a commentary from Dr. Bart Rossi that we call the Rossi Rant.
And Frank, today I'd like to really go off on something that you mentioned last week in your commentary about civility. And I want to talk a little bit about the lost art of compromise. Here we have a situation now where people are actually running for office and they're bragging and talking about the fact that they will never compromise. They stand for what they stand for and they're never going to compromise. They're never going in any different direction. And they want to change America, but they want to change it only the way they see it. And this is so different than Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill. Tip O'Neill was the speaker, and he was best friends with Ronald Reagan, not only politically, but in real life. They were best friends. And they knew how to disagree. They knew how to argue, then go out and have a drink and talk about it. And then they made a compromise. They compromised many, many times. This is a model that has been out there. People on the right, they like Reagan. Well, guess what? He was a compromiser. And Tip O'Neill was much more progressive, but he compromised. So what I'm thinking about is that we need more candidates who are thinking about America and the art of compromise.
It also was 40 years ago.
Yes.
Got to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Doctor. Coming up, Governor DeSantis makes a statement with more immigration-related bills signed into law, and by sending state officers to the Florida border to prevent Haitians from entering the state, when Power and Politics continues.
Hi, folks, and welcome back. As a reminder, staff are on hand to answer your questions regarding personal injury. So if you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, like a car accident or a slip and fall, they can help. And as a matter of fact, they're ready to help. So pick up that phone and call the number right now on your screen. Find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Now, we have a question submitted by Ramon. So Ramon, what's your question?
Hi, my name is Ramon. My question is, once I sign up with your firm, how quickly do you guys get to work on my case?
Ramon, that's a great question. And I checked with our team and they say right away. They said that once you call in, you receive your free consultation and the firm sees that this is a case that they can help you with, then they send over the paperwork and start working in your case immediately. Now, the best part is that you can do everything right there over the phone. You can do it by email if you wish, text message. So you can rest easy knowing that there's someone on your side looking out for you. And if you prefer to meet in person, you can come into the office or we can have someone come out to your house, maybe meet you at a coffee shop. Although I think most people nowadays prefer to do things over the phone. It's very fast, it's very easy, and it's really all about you. That's why staff are available for you right now because this is done on your terms. So if you've been injured in an accident and you're sitting there on the couch, maybe still in the hospital bed from your accident, and you have a lot of questions, more importantly, you deserve compensation. So take that first step, call the number on your screen, and in 2 easy steps, you're going to find out if you have a case and how much your case is potentially worth.
Excellent. Thank you, Mitch. Well, you heard it, folks. The call is confidential and the consultation is free. So you have nothing to lose by taking a few minutes of your time to find out if you have a case and how much it could be worth.
Welcome back to Power and Politics. I'm Frank Cipolla. I'm joined by political psychologist Dr. Bart Rossi. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has signed 3 bills aimed at migrants living and working in the state, while also announcing he will send 250 state officers to secure the Florida border from potential migrants entering from Haiti. Okay, Doctor, first of all, the Coast Guard does this.
Right.
They patrol the area around Florida. Is this, as you sometimes indicate, another political stunt? Because, you know, it's 600 miles away on average between Haiti and Miami.
It's a real problem. However, when does it move from being a real problem and a conversation to a political stunt or a pitch again to the base? This seems like the old Ron DeSantis before he was running for the presidency and during, where he was pitching to the base about immigration. I'm not sure this is helping him, by the way, right now. I don't think there's a good look on this. If it's needed, that would be one thing. But to your question, is this really needed to spend millions and millions of dollars for immigration?
Something the Coast Guard is already doing.
I don't think this is going to go over well.
All right, we taped this show a bit earlier in the week, so we won't know either way, but Ron DeSantis apparently has a bill on his desk that would allow chaplains into schools, public schools throughout the state, and already we're starting to see what's happening. A Hindu statesman from Nevada has already said he is eager to volunteer as a chaplain in Florida schools, and you predicted this about 4 weeks ago.
Well, we have been talking about this, I think, for about 4 weeks, and every time we talk about it, I think it's pertinent, because to me, as we said last week, this is Sunday school now in public school. How do we do that? I mean, do we have rabbis go into the school? Should we have nuns? Do we have Mormon counselors go in? And who's the decider? Who decides who goes in? Should it be a counselor associated with Black Lives Matter? Should it be a Muslim leader with Muslim counselors going into the school? And what are the parents going to be thinking about some religious person coming into the school, whoever that might be? And again, who makes those decisions? What are the local boards of education going to say about this? It is the opposite of the separation of church and state. And I am actually surprised it got this far, that it could actually pass. It doesn't make good sense.
Well, let's take it one step further. Who is going to be monitoring those conversations between whomever is, quote unquote, the chaplain and is with a young man or woman? I mean, it's supposed to be a private get-together, I imagine. Is there going to be a teacher, a counselor in there hearing what's being said? You won't know.
Yes, you're right. And to my point, over the last few weeks, why not a licensed psychologist or a licensed social worker, people who are skilled in cognitive behavioral counseling, where you can help kids change their thinking so they change their behavior, they feel better about themselves, they can deal with bullying, they can deal with the problems in the school system. Why not someone who's a professional? Why bring in the religious factor when we have a solution? Licensed people who are very good at this.
Now, you brought something up in a personal conversation we had with regard to those who follow Satan.
Yes.
And you know, I guess they can make an argument that they would be, a chaplain, quote unquote, a chaplain. They don't really follow Satan, though.
Well, the Satanic Temple doesn't really believe in Satan. They use Satan as a symbol because actually their religion, and it is a religion, it's a bona fide religion, they don't believe in organized religion. So it's a little odd. It's a little shaky in terms of what they're thinking, perhaps. But nonetheless, should they be a participant with this law as well? It just muddies the waters even more. It doesn't make good sense no matter how you look at this legislation.
It is a slippery slope, and
Yes.
I think I've used that term a couple of times. Let's go back to immigration for a moment. Some of these laws are quite restrictive with regard to the laws that the governor signed, or these bills the governor signed into law about traveling in the state, and so on and so forth. I'm going to talk about this a little more during my commentary, but you know, the state needs migrants and immigrants to work in jobs that, quite frankly, nobody wants to do.
And we have unemployment that's well below 4%. We basically have full employment in this country if you look at what the numbers are supposed to tell us. And now we're pushing back upon people who want to work here. Many of the people who want to come into the country are legitimate workers for us.
Well, they've captured a few who have come in from other countries. There's a lot coming in from China now. So just to be fair, there are other immigrants coming in, and not necessarily from South America.
Well, to your point, a small percentage. Many people who come into the country come here legally. They're not legal citizens yet, okay? But we need people that are going to be team players for Americans. We need them. So we do need a vetting process at the border that's much better than it is now. This president and all of the previous presidents have had problems. They should be criticized for not really making the moves
on both sides of the aisle.
both sides of the aisle. And now it's time to make a difference. Yeah.
All right, good. All right, thank you, Doctor. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the always popular sunshine or shower segment, when we see who spent a week on the beach and who ended up getting caught in a downpour. When Power and Politics continues. Welcome back to Power and Politics. I'm Frank Cipolla, joined by political psychologist Dr. Bart Rossi. As you know, the weather can change in a moment in Florida, so every week we span the state to find out who enjoyed the warm rays of sunshine and who got caught in the rain. It's time now for the always popular segment, Sunshine or Showers. We start with the sunshine because sunshine is great. Tell us who's in the sunshine.
Frank, the sunshine was really great this past week for the Players' Championship, the PGA tournament.
And you're a golfer.
I'm a big golf nut, yeah. Up in Sawgrass by Jacksonville, okay, about 2 hours north of Orlando. The Players' Tournament it's become perhaps the #1 tournament in America now. The Masters right there as well. But the Players is just so interesting because the stadium course is laid out with a island green on number 17, and the dynamics are just incredible. So it's become a spectacle, and I think everybody who's put this together, who's worked on this tournament here in Florida, deserve a lot of credit because it is absolutely spectacular to watch.
Well, we would be remiss if we didn't mention that Dr. Rossi took me out on the golf course for the first time in 30 years. I haven't played golf in 30 years. He took me out on the golf course, and I was just as bad on the golf course last week than I was 30 years prior.
It's a tough
So
sport.
some things remain the same.
It's not easy, but who do you have?
Very well done.
Right.
Very well. Are you familiar with the gentleman by the name of Orlando Capote?
Not really. No, I don't.
Orlando is from Coral Gables, Florida. He is 60-ish. He inherited his mother's home, and they wanted to build a giant industrial complex there with tall buildings and shopping and so on. And Mr. Capote said, no, I'm not selling my home. So within this gigantic development of buildings and condos and so on, there's a little house with a garden. And Mr. Capote lives there. He goes out, he waters his lawn. He's in the sunshine because he stuck to his guns and said, you know what? I'm not giving in. No matter what they offer me, I'm not selling my mom's
He's
home.
standing up for himself,
He
which
is.
which we like to see.
Orlando Capote, wherever you are watching on our station where we broadcast in Miami, you're in the sunshine. Okay.
Showers.
Okay. I go first?
Oh, you go first this week.
Oh, do you want to go first?
No, go ahead.
You know, again, with every shiny day, there's some showers.
Yeah, who do you have?
Are you familiar with the Orlando City Commissioner, Regina Hill?
No.
All right, she is in the showers because this elected official somehow got control of an elderly woman's bank account, spent $100,000 of her money, I'm talking about the elderly woman, getting a facelift, taking care of herself, buying stuff, and they just found this out, so obviously she's under investigation. Listen, if you're an elected official, you know, it's not your job to, you know, find out how you can make some extra cash on the side. And certainly not get cosmetic surgery and everything else that she's accused of doing. But she is in the showers. That is Orlando City Commissioner Regina Hill.
Heavy showers.
You. And we're on in Orlando as well, so if you're watching, you are in the showers.
Heavy showers.
Heavy showers. Okay, now, your showers.
In my showers are all of the local candidates that I've seen around the state who have engaged in incredible negative advertising. Instead of just standing up for who they are and what they actually stand for, they're criticizing the other people running, the current mayor, for example, the current councilman. People are running for office saying that they're just terrible, or they're awful, or disgusting people, or just terrible negative ads. And as you said last week, the lack of civility. It's reached the point where it's pretty awful.
You know, fear sells. Fear sells, and that's why they do it. I guess sometimes it works, often it works. All right, thank you, Doctor. It's time now for a break. When we come back, a commentary by yours truly titled, Let's Be Frank, when Power and Politics continues.
Rated the best hearing aids of 2023 by Forbes, the Audien Adam 2 series offers superior sound quality and functionality for a fraction of the price. For just $189 a pair, the Adam 2 features 4 different hearing modes for all types of hearing loss. It packs crystal clear sound, a nearly invisible design, and is even rechargeable.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids. They're so comfortable, I forget I'm wearing them. And the sound is amazing.
The Adam Pro 2 is our smallest hearing aid yet, featuring advanced background noise cancellation and is the world's first hearing aid with built-in UV cleaning that kills 99% of bacteria.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed without seeing a doctor or having a hearing test.
Join over 500,000 happy customers today and get the hearing you deserve.
1-800-809-9816. 1-800-809-9816. 1-800-809-9816.
Welcome back to Power and Politics. Governor Ron DeSantis this week again showed how tough he is when it comes to immigration, signing 3 bills to make it harder for migrants to live, work, and travel in the state, while also sending 250 state officers to the border to scan the waters for makeshift rafts filled with Haitians fleeing the violence in that island nation, something the Coast Guard is doing already. When I hear of actions like this, it always makes me chuckle. I always find it amusing when I hear folks tell me that migrants are stealing good American jobs. From who exactly are they stealing these jobs? Jobs picking fruit in Immokalee or working in meatpacking plants are so desired that the kid who just finished high school can't wait to start? How many of you right now have children or grandchildren who desire to work in the heat of a construction site or in the blazing sun cutting lawns and trimming hedges all day? Most kids now want to be TikTok influencers or athletes or appear on Who's Got Talent. Let me let you in on a secret. The jobs migrants do are tough, and no one wants them. No one except those people willing to give up all they have for a chance to live in the United States of America. Are there migrants from other countries crossing our southern and, for that matter, our northern border who want to do us harm? I have no doubt there are. Do we need a better system to process and track immigrants who enter our country? Of course we do. But when a bipartisan group of senators spends weeks and weeks working on a compromise immigration bill, and then our friends in Congress decide it's a better campaign wedge issue and walk away, I have a problem. Let's be realistic. The vast majority of men, women, and children entering the U.S. legally or illegally just want a chance. Some are fleeing violence in their native country. But this false narrative when it comes to migrants stealing jobs is just that. Recently, down the street from me, a 4-story apartment building started going up. After Governor DeSantis cracked down on immigration last year, construction came to a halt. It's now only being worked on sporadically. I'm not insinuating it's because migrants have taken their skills to other states, but it sure looks like it. So are these policies helping Florida or hurting the economy? We'll be right back. That's it for this week's edition of Power and Politics. On behalf of my co-host, political psychologist Dr. Bart Rossi, and the fine folks working behind the scenes, thanks for joining us. As always, we'd like to know what you think. Visit us at powerandpolitics.tv or email us at info@powerandpolitics.tv. We'll see you again a week from now at this time and on this station. Have a great week.